APRA 2022, we have moved off the stage due to our incredible capabilities of production here. We have moved next to the stage. I'm with Lonnie and Geoff Turk. More importantly, maybe than both of these guys, we are with the Blackbird Factory X car. It is the first Factory X car we have seen kind of in the flesh. This is an amazing deal. Geoff, you've been out there beating the drum on this class for a little while. Comp Plus story came out last week. That was really fantastic. Lonnie, you've been a big champion of this category. So what I'm going to do is let you guys kibitz, talk about the race car. I'm going to get out of the way, but I'm entertained by what I'm looking at, and I'm certainly interested to hear what you guys have to say. Take it away.
Thank you, sir. So we 2022 we started developing a category that would be steel roof, steel quarter, stock dimensions. It looks like a car that you drove to the racetrack and bought your ticket. But this thing is when you take the fascia, you look underneath the body. This thing is really a serious piece. It's going to resemble an Erica Enders type Pro Stock car if you was to look at it with the body off, and really from the firewall back, it is Pro Stock. It was very exciting in bringing this category along. There was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of work. Geoff had a lot of input in that, as well as others. But we were glad to put the whole FX program together, get it released, and start working towards building some parts. The fruits of the labor, which I'll let Geoff talk about here in just a second, is this beautiful Blackbird X. And he'll explain where the Blackbird comes from, and this Factory X category is going to be really exciting. We expect the thing to be in the high 6-second zone. We hope we intend for it to be just short of 200 mile an hour to start with, so that it really reflects into the next 200 mile an hour club. I know there are some people building it. There are some people that see some dyno numbers of their fruits and labor, and think that 200 is pretty easy to get to. But nonetheless, Geoff, tell us about this beautiful car. Who's been involved, and how it got to where it's at right now.
Well, I'm a blessed guy to be in the right place at the right time a couple times in my life, and certainly when this Factory X thing was discussed, I was over on the Blackbird, the original Blackbird, a 2015 Dodge Challenger in the Factory Showdown. I later ran a Mustang for a while, but I brought the Blackbird back out, and Lonnie kind of heard through the grapevine they're talking about this Factory X class, where we're going to take these incredible modern architecture engines that are like the engines you buy and have in your car, Gen 3 Hemi, like you'd have in a pickup truck or a Challenger or a Charger, a Coyote like you'd get in a Mustang, and the LS motors that run in the Copos. And we're going to take those engines we worked so hard to make so much power with over Factory Showdown and put them in a much more capable chassis, but have that chassis wrapped in a car that looks exactly like the factory car. And I guess we were successful because I've had so many people come to me and go, so this is the old car? You're going to work on the new car? I'm like, no, this is the new car.
No, I've even heard that as well, where people's walked up and go, they just changed the badging on a little bit, and it's got a 5-speed in it, and go, really, the deal is that Factory X does not lead you to have to build a all-tube chassis, blah, blah, blah. It really could be a unibody build if you think that you could be competitive that way. Right. At least you could get started there.
Yeah, you could.
Nonetheless, this is obviously a state-of-the-art. I had to tell a lot of stories over the last couple of weeks when they go, hey, have you even talked to those guys, or do you know what's going on? And it was multiple conversations every day. The one thing that I'm happy to say is that throughout to the stage we are now, there wasn't, from the initial rule set to the rule set we have today, there's not been a lot of changes. We did a pretty good job on the front end, and obviously Darren and those guys over at B&B have done a tremendous job.
And that's really I was blessed to be at the right place, right time, find out about this class. I was getting ready to build an ultra street class car, or an extreme street class with the small tire radio guys, and I've been working with Darren and B&B on that, and I called and said, hey, hold up, this FX thing might really be happening. So I don't want to build one of them cars if this is going to happen. And of course, these rules are different, and why this car is an all-out effort, and underneath it, if you peeled it off, it is an incredibly advanced, refined racing chassis, something like I've never had in my life, to be honest with you. I'm going to have the biggest tires under me, the best chassis in terms of what we were able to do, because it's a real race chassis, and it looks just like the old car. And except it's going to go really fast, and 200 would be a hopefully a pretty easy bar for it, and 690s will be a pretty easy bar for it too, we think. So we're going to find out, but by the luck of the way my life unfolded in many ways, I was working with Darren anyway. Darren, a perfect guy, B&B race cars, built tons of really cool GT super stockers, knows how to work with a steel car and something completely different, and worked hand in glove with Lonnie throughout this whole build process to really build the first car like this, and it was no easy task. I mean, Darren and the team, 3 weeks ago when I stood there and talked to them about being here in the show, we didn't know there was much hope. These guys just killed it. They worked non-stop for 3 weeks. I mean, I'm talking every weekend, and Thanksgiving was in there. They ate turkey, came back to the shop, started welding. So this thing has come a long way in 3 weeks. I hope in another 3 weeks it'll be coming a lot longer way, and in another 3 weeks after that, there'll be some time slips I can show Lonnie. Of course, I probably won't send him my best time slips, but I'll send him some time slips and let him know how these things run. But I can't thank Lonnie enough, because I know Lonnie brought this breath of fresh air idea for this class to NHRA, fought through all the discussions with all the different parties. You can never make anybody happy if you're a rule maker. It's a thankless job, and all of us complain about the rules, but we know that the guy making the rules has got the hardest job of all. And he worked with us on that rule set, then we got going, and Darren and his team have just did a fantastic job knocking it out of the park. Of course, I'll be working my normal cast of characters, Whipple on top. If you got a Whipple on top, you're already probably in front, and got BES underneath with the engine. Got in this case Holly EFI, of course, and race pack and Simpson equipment. But of course, this case, it's not going to be cone transmissions and cone converters, because we got a Ram clutch and a Liberty 5-speed clutch. I can't even say it without grinning ear to ear, because I'm so pumped about getting in that car, banging through the gears, popping that clutch, and screaming down there through sixes, over 200 miles an hour. I'm lit up. I don't think I've slept for I don't know how long. I haven't slept just thinking about it. It's like Christmas every day as this thing came together.
So what I want Gina, when you're there, and I know that you're going to go, hey, hold off till I let go of the clutch like 10 times, and I've done 27 burnouts, but I really want the video from the very first time that you step off the clutch pedal. I'm
so
excited
you can make
for
fun of me with everybody else.
Hey, I've said that in the event that you have some other things going, Darren's got my number. I'll be happy to set in for a test session. So, really excited about this category. Really excited to have Holly on board. They jumped at it immediately. Holly is the only ECU. There are a number of different models of ECU that you can put in the car, but Holly is the only ECU. The can, the transmission, just a lot of pieces and parts. The tire is at this moment is not a spec tire. It's spec in size, but not in brand. And so, but we hope somebody steps up to that very soon. This thing is what you've been good at when we look back at the original Blackbird, and then we look at the Ford version. You always had a great vision in your mind of almost what this thing's going to look like, as if somebody drew it up for you, but it just runs in your head. And then when that thing shows up, if there was ever any artistic drawing of it or rendition, the thing looks immaculate. And great job with this thing. One of the things about this class is that we feel like a lot of people have come and asked and said, hey, what about the clutch? Right. So, is it a Pro Stock clutch? Well, Pro Stock clutch has to come with a clutch machine. It has to come with a clutch guy. It has to come with clutch tools. The one thing that these things are at a pretty significant power level, even though that you're daily driven Gen 3 Hemi, makes somewhere between 300 and 700 horsepower, depending on what make and model you bought. We're talking about double that. We're approaching the 1500 horsepower mark, and with that, really some bad things can happen if parts come apart. And so that's why the 6.3 can to contain the clutch. We did the 8-inch clutch. It is a 1.5, which is for the supercharged applications. The fact that it's 8-inch and it's multiple discs, you can run up to 3 discs. And we don't know how many discs people are going to run. We think the average is probably going to be a 2-disc 8-inch. The deal is if your clutch program starts pretty close for the weekend of activity, you're probably just making some minor adjustments on it. and you will cut it when you get back home. This probably is not a car that you'll have to pull the clutch out and resurface every round. So for a husband-wife team and a friend, we believe that the car is pretty attainable to be able to run with a fairly small crew, and so that keeps the expense down and still yet goes out and lights the scoreboard up.
Yeah, that's our plan, and we were happy to see that 8-inch rule because we know that'll help keep it that way. And I don't have a lot of experience running a clutchless or a Liberty, and I don't have a lot of experience running a clutch on the drag strip. I actually, all my go-fast cars on the street were always manuals. I've been drag racing as a driver. I'm 59, so I've been drag racing, driving cars since I was 16, so 43 years. I've always dreamed of having a manual drag car, popping the clutch and banging the gears in a real drag car. My street cars going to drag strip on the weekend don't count, but my competitive race cars have always they've never been a manual, the clutch, or the clutchless. So I mean, I get in the car when Lonnie, don't tell Darren when Darren's not looking. I bang through the gears when he's not watching. I go in there and make the motor sounds, and I'm itching so bad to get to the track. Darren knows it. I'm like, well, we're done, man. Let's just go. Who needs powder coat and paint on the roll cage? I mean, it's not gonna make the car go any faster. I mean, do you really need to paint it? I mean, anyway, but we'll get through that, and we'll hopefully get on track here early next year and see what this thing can really do and uncork it. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of guys pretty surprised how fast these things are really going to be. They're going to look just like that, and they're going to go really, really, really fast.
And we know of 9 cars that have either tack tubing at some level of progression all the way to what we see here. We know of 9 cars. There's 20 more that I've sent deposit, I'm in line, whatever. Hey, we're looking forward to the first 4 of them. Right. The Ford, the Copo, the Challenger, we have not had an official request for any other brand yet, but my email's pretty easy to find if you want to be included. The one thing that we look at is we have great partners in this category. We called it Factory X for a reason. There's a lot of history at NHRA, a factory experimental. It kind of took on a different form. Some people think that the altered wheelbase factory experimental stuff actually is what John Force drives today in a funny car. Right. But nonetheless, we kind of reinvented the name to Factory X. And we've got great support. Our presenting sponsor is Holly. We look forward to a long-term relationship with them in this category. They're going to be great. If you have any questions about the ECUs for Factory X, please stop by their booth. They're located in the main hall. And
for the record, I'm not a Holly employee, but even though I'm not a Holly employee, I highly recommend Holly FIs, even if you don't have to run them. But anyway, but I'm no longer a Holly employee, but obviously this thing's got Holly all over. Holly's always been a great partner. I used to work there, and they're great friends, and I'm excited that's the ECM, and that's the engine control. But even if there wasn't a rule, it'd have a Holly in it. If there wasn't a rule, it'd say you had that Holly. But it's just going to be exciting. And the other thing I think people ought to know, these cars are going to be a little bit of a handful. And if you go back to the early days of the Blackbird, the early days of the supercharged factory shootout cars, they did a lot of exciting things. Sometimes so exciting to let some paint on the walls. And I don't have any plan to leave paint on the walls. But a little secret is we were looking over the last chassis details with Darren. I got a little nervous because Lonnie was coaching, like, yeah, you don't want to connect that to that because when you get in the wall, that's going to bend that bar and bend that bar. And about the 3rd time he said that, I said, well, how many times do you think we're going to be in the wall, Lonnie? I mean, but that kind of shows you what these guys know about my driving inability or ability. So I got to give them some slack because they're probably planning ahead for my driving.
What I do know about Geoff Turk's ability is, as passionate as he is to take this race car to the racetrack right now with no powder coat, a little unfinished. The deal is that at the end of the day, he is also always going to present a fabulous appearing race car. So we
because I got Darren especially.
That's right. We look forward to what the finished product looks like. We're going to do this again throughout the weekend. Factory X, presented by Holly.